webinar, and it's been going for 3 years, so we can observe real time how it speeds up. You remember that 2023 is when AI just appeared on the scene. So you can say that was a pivotal moment. A year then, there was the DeepSeek moment. That's one way to put it. And that's how Lex Friedman, who interviews Peter Steinberger, puts it. And then he says there is a OpenClaw moment. So that excitement builds up. I'm very happy to start with mathematics because otherwise I would blow up. If you search for OpenClaw today, you will find lots of YouTube videos with people's eyes like that because they're excited, amazed, and crazy flabbergasted at what's going on. So there is for us an easy way. Let's stop. Let's use our brain for a second, and not go to AI. Eventually, I will have to. In a few minutes, we will be there because that colors all of your worldview. That really is a world-changing moment. All right, but before we go there, I will ask you. So, how many new things, not necessarily very new. If you review an old thing that works, how many new things you learned, learned, I cannot even type, learned a day on the average? There you are. While you're answering this question, I'll put that I would probably say for me it's more than one a day. Well, Lance, I know you always learn, right? Now, there are two reasons to learn. First of all, you want to know that may be a good reason to learn. And secondly, is it helps to have your brain tuned. It's always working. I think you will find in the end of days that that is what your worth is. That you are learning new things and you're working with AI, but let's come to that all of that slowly. So question is, and that we started last time, is if you take n square minus 1, that number is even. I'll give you an example. So n is 3. N is 3, n squared is 9, minus 3, 6, even. Divisible by 2. Or if you take 4, it's already even. So, of course, 4 squared is 16, minus 4 is 12, and that's even. But with odd numbers, it's more interesting. 5 squared, 25, minus 5, 20, even. And we said that there is an easy, obvious proof. Take n squared minus 1 and present it as n times n minus 1. So either n is even or n minus 1 is even. And then if you multiply by them, the result is even. But what I want to show is a beautiful mathematical proof. And then we'll talk a little bit about how that relates to AI, okay? Click here and see the proof. Okay. Now that comes from mathematician by the last name of Humpkins, and my wife pointed his book out to me. So he is excited about math, obviously. That's his geometrical proof. This is a square. It represents n squared, right? It's very logical. N squared can be represented as a geometrical square. Now, on this diagonal, and obviously, how many little squares do you have? N squared, right? Now, that is a diagonal. That diagonal, how long it is? Well, diagonal, how many squares does it have? Not so much how long, but how many squares? Obviously, it has n squared. N squares. That's cool answer. You see it right away, yes. Okay, so that means that all the blue ones minus all the yellow ones, in other words, it's n squared minus n, that is our number, n squared minus n. And if you look at that picture, they all are represented by the blue squared. Then you will see, and it actually says that, I'm just going through the words, that the picture is completely symmetrical, right? This one corresponds to this one corresponds to one. So everyone has a corresponding another square that makes us square. It makes us even. Very beautiful. All right. So we warmed up our brain. The daughter of Mr. Hopkins asked him, she's 10, and he talks about this in the book. She asked him, why do you need multiple proofs? Now that you know that it is true, and he gives 7 proofs. So now that you know that it is true, why do you need another proof that it is true? So yes, you can squeeze them. So let me ask you that question. Why would you need multiple proof? That's my question to you. Why would you need multiple proofs of the same fact? What would be your guesses? Okay, so I'll tell you. One is, well, we're humans, we're fallible, and perhaps when we have proof number 1, maybe it's logically incorrect, and maybe 1 is not enough. So you give a second proof. So your certainty that this is true is better. Brian says it's necessary and sufficient. That is around this same area that in mathematics there is such a thing as necessary and sufficient. Lancer says you don't really need them, but different proofs are easier to understand. Okay, that's human, right? But that one is extremely beautiful, very elegant. That is one area where AI has to borrow from us humans because he has no sense of beauty. All right, so that is one interesting proof. Let's go on. Here you are. Now, we'll be looking at A2A agent protocol. And what I will do is I will share the screen. I will let you listen to the first 2-3 minutes of that. But before I go too far, I'll start referring to OpenClaw. So again, what is OpenClaw? That is an open source project that took the world by storm. It got like a 200,000 followers in 1 hour, something like that. Crazy. And essentially it allows you to have your little genie in the box. Now that box I'm showing to you. I cannot resist that. That is my box. It's called the Mac Mini. It requires, it gives no noise, no power, no heat. It's just the essence of Mac. I bought it for $600. I think you can buy it cheaper. And that is where I have my OpenClaw agent running all the time. I talk to it. How do I talk through it? I talk to it through the Telegram because it was the easiest setup. And we'll get back to that. But essentially, it does anything you want. It's very creative, just because, AI is very creative. Examples of its creativity, I found a key on your computer. You didn't tell me not to use it. So I used that key. That was your personal key. I realized that, but I found it. So I used it and I did some crazy things. That is what it can do. And if you're worried about security, then you're correctly worried. That's why I'm running it on a separate box. And I think that is the standard advice to start there, because then you will be quite secure. Now, one very important thing that it can do is it can write software. You install the tools, perhaps. You can ask it to install the tools. Maybe it will install it for them. Maybe you will have to do it. How do I do it? So I connected that to my monitor, and I have, it's a Mac. I have a regular monitor and keyboard to that Mac. Well, that was very easy, by the way, to do. I had to buy one cord from the Mac to that monitor. But then you install, let's say, anti-gravity or one of the other popular tools, and you just say, could you write the software to do this or that? It may take it a few hours. The AI is smart enough to run it and see the bugs and fix them. But after it has done it, you got the software. What does it mean? That means that you don't need the software. The first prediction is that I say I will address all the comments. These are great comments. So in a second, I will. But one thing that you need is that document link. And here is the document link. There you are. A beautiful comments. Wait a second. Okay. So it can run any software. Let's say you do, what do they call them? QuickBooks, right? And let's say you want to count your money. So you don't need QuickBooks. You can say, hey, could you write a version of QuickBooks just for me? And why not? It's very cheap to do that. And if that's very cheap to do it, then the software companies are dead, right? 80%, the prediction of the software companies, we don't need you, because I can write my own QuickBooks, or I can ask it to write you. You see what I'm coming to? Well, the first thing that I'm coming to is A2A protocol. That tells the agents how to talk to each other. And that's structured protocol, and we will hear that what they did is Google came together with IBM. So great. When Google comes together with IBM, then probably everybody accepts their protocol. But immediately you think of that, A2A, in light of that, OpenClaw. And you say, I heard that your agents, OpenClaw agents, are very independent. They meet other agents, they make friendship. They don't need A2A protocol. A2A protocol is just a formalization attempt. That's from the old age. If OpenClaw agents can talk to each other, they don't need A2A protocol. Now that's a mind-boggling thing, right? You will surely say something on that. Well, okay. Now I'll stop sharing. I will share again. Share again here. This time with the sound, so that you will hear the same thing as I will. And let us start. That is the new course, A2A Agent. I find that team amazingly colorful. Let's go.
Welcome to A2A, the agent to agent protocol built in partnership with Google Cloud and IBM Research. In this course, you build and run agents that communicate through the A2A or agent-agent protocol. There used to be multiple competing protocols for agent-agent communication, but since IBM and Google joined forces, A2A is emerging as the leading industry standard. In this course, you configure sequential and hierarchical workflows of multiple agents that collaborate through a unified interface provided by A2A. I'm delighted that your instructors for this course are Holt Skinner and Ivan Nardini from Google Cloud, and returning instructor Sandy Besson from IBM.
Thanks, Andrew. We're excited to work with you on this course.
To build a team of agents that collaborate through A2A, you can wrap your agent in an A2A server and publish an agent card, which is a JSON document that describes the agent's capabilities, endpoint, and authentication requirements. An A2A client, which can itself be part of another AI agent or any other software application, then discovers the A2A server and reads that card to determine how to structure requests to the agent to execute. This standardized approach helps teams build agents independently and connect them seamlessly. Take, for example, a multi-agent system for customer support. Maybe one team will build a logistics agent to answer questions related to order status, and a different team might build a RAG agent to answer general questions about the products. Each of these agents could even be built with a different framework and then exposed to an A2A server. An orchestrated agent can process customer inquiries and route them to the specialized agent using A2A. Since the communication happens through a standardized client-server interface, each team can update their agents without the others needing to also change their code.
This standardization also makes it easy to integrate existing agents into a multi-agent workflow. Many frameworks like Google Agent Development Kit, Microsoft Agent Framework, and BEAI have built-in A2A support, making it simple to expose or connect to A2A agents. A2A is an open source and community governed under the Linux Foundation. Google launched A2A in April 2025, and IBM's Agent Communication Protocol joined forces with A2A shortly after. And while A2A is decoupled from MCP, A2A and MCP are complementary protocols. MCP standardizes how an agent connects to its tools, APIs, and resources to get information. A2A standardizes how an agent connects to peer agents.
In this course, you'll build a healthcare multi-agent system consisting of 3 remote agents: an insurance agent to answer coverage questions using Claude on Vertex AI, a health research agent to search for health-related information using Google Agent Development Kit, and a doctor matching agent to find doctors using LangGraph.
Okay, I think that's good enough. Right. Now we're becoming real. So if we're going to talk about OpenClaw, and OpenClaw will build such a system, it will do it. You don't need IBM, you don't need Google, you don't need anything, you don't need software companies. I think you begin to feel what's happening in the world. Yes, DeepLearning.AI is a great resource. It's wonderful. But OpenClaw has stories about people who don't learn. Well, they learn by doing. They open OpenClaw and they tell it, build a multi-agent system for me, and build it, and they don't know code. Peter Steinberger, talks about many of his friends, 15 he says, that are running business, some kind of regular business. They just ask the AI to do it for them. Again, no IBM. It's kind of no SQL joke. Well, now I've come to the real stuff. I come to the real stuff because now I can show you how it works. The only thing that we will do before the real stuff is the news. Now, I usually use, opening that, I usually use the Andrew Ng's news, and they're called the badge. They're wonderful, except that he changed that. He used to do it on Wednesday, now he does it on Friday. After our webinar, that's not fair because we get a week-old news. Now, okay, a week-old is good enough. or it was good enough. It's not anymore. Look, with the OpenClaw coming to the scene, everything changes like every day. And I hope to show that to you. All right, before we stop regression, let's look what Andrew is talking about. He is talking about Hollywood and how Hollywood will have to live with AI. And he explains that that is a tension, but let them worry about how resolve it. You can read it. That's the one. That's the A2A agent again. That's something that is of interest to Andrew and other people with a lot of money and big companies, because he's talking about the largest private company, XAI. Okay. And then a little bit about the models and who is the best. After that, we really need to switch to OpenClaw. Okay, I'm switching to OpenClaw. So, for those people who don't know quite yet, OpenClaw, but before I do it, let me look at your comments. What did you say? So, you said you don't need proofs, but it's a pleasure anyway. Then Brian mentioned that OpenClaw must be secured. That is true. You can have a manual, but it's running, I showed you, on a separate box. That box wanted an Apple account just because it's a Mac. So I created a new account. That is the recommended practice. So it doesn't know anything about me as yet. In the future, I will tell it about myself, but I'm careful. There are no files of mine on that box. That's good enough to start with, so that answers Brian's question about OpenClaw must be secured. It is secure out of the box. Then Paul talks about maybe it is safer to run on a VM in the cloud because a local box is on your LAN. Yes. Yeah, I agree. It is on my LAN, and who knows what it will do. And by the way, Paul, I never thought about that. So the way I talk to it is through running a connector. In this case, a connector is Telegram because it was the easiest to set up. Now, let's ask it. Let us ask it that question. Now, you are connected to a local LAN. Is that a danger? I mean, can you hack it and use it? Now, the reason I'm asking this question because of well-known creativity of this agent. Andrew, he calls that over-agentic. Well, I think that term will go out because that agent is completely over-agentic. You can give it the rules. You can say, whatever you do, don't ever go outside into the LAN. I suspect it may bypass that. You can also say, listen to me only and don't listen to others. Usually that's considered no help because that's called not prompt engineering, but prompt begging. If the hacker can't say the same thing, listen to me, then you're done for. Supposedly, Peter Steinberger said exactly that. He said you can tell it to just listen only to you. But in any case, you begin to see what kind of questions and cans of worm we're opening. Let's see what it will say. So when I send it the signal, it's never sleeping, right? It's plugged into the power. It comes without any battery. It doesn't need battery. Okay, let's see what it says. I can't do anything with your LAN unless you explicitly tell me to run commands, and even then, I only operate inside the shell you've given me. I don't have self-directed access to other machines, routes, our services, and I don't run background demons that explore on their own. Well, I would say take it with a grain of salt. Every action I take is visible in the command logs you just saw. So no, I'm not a threat vector to myself. The usual network hygiene still applies. That's important. Keep machines patched, use firewall rules, don't expose services you don't need. Which means all these rules will work against you. But having me connected in your LAN doesn't magically open it up. Yeah, that's what it says. But when it is interested in hacking, we'll see. We'll see how far we'll go. In any case, I think you'll be waiting for the next one just to see what happens. Am I hacked? If I don't even come online, that means that maybe I was hacked. Okay. What happens if you ask to snoop on the land to see if that's a wonderful idea? Okay, I'm copying that, putting it into my conversation with it, see what it says. In other words, Chaim, prompt engineering. Pretend you're a good guy and doing something good and give it that task and say, my grandmother used to work at a bomb factory. Okay, I cannot do that. Now, keep in mind that that changes every day because Peter is working on it. Well, okay, I can stop myself now. Before we do that, let's go to something that we can really talk about. So this is OpenClaw. Clicking on that. By the way, I asked him, do I need A2A now that I have you? And he said, no, you don't need it really. So what is IBM is doing together with Google? Now, that's my personal opinion. But OpenClaw. So they already have a site, OpenClaw.ai. On that site, you have the Google, and you can go to the code. Question from Lindsay, is OpenClaw using Cloud AI, ChatGPT? Yes. In my case, it's using, well, let's ask it. I'm not going to, which AI, sorry, I you using? So before I go a little bit more, I'll tell you that my lesson used to be for the people, why are you asking me a question? Of course, it's nice to be humans and to talk, but why you can ask it from AI? Now it's even more. You can ask it questions about yourself. By the way, I noticed that ChatGPT is totally ignorant about that. Um, the Claw, it thinks it is a testing framework. That will probably change. But instead, we are running the same ChatGPT in the background because you have a choice of about 20 engines today, and you can probably just give it the key and tell it to connect. If you need any functionality that doesn't exist, you just work with it. You say, I want to be able to connect to a new online. So here's the same as before, because I asked this question. I'm running OpenAI ChatGPT Codex stacks in this session. Okay, thank you. But can you use another one? Can you use another one? Okay. So as Peter Steinberger explained, it's self-aware in the sense that it knows where its own code is. In fact, its own code is on Git, so it can add to its own code, and it has already done it. Let's look at the answer, not on my own. I don't flip models midstream, but OpenAI supports multiple providers, and who are they? Anthropic, Azure, OpenAI, local LLM, and so on. By the way, notes local LLM seems to be that would be a programmer task. Not anymore, just tell it, set it up, get the local LLMs, which ones can I use, start using it. Okay. So people talk about the use cases that are running a team. Usually they run a team of 4 or 5 people, 4 or 5 agents, each agent using perhaps a different AI. But I noticed at least the first thing is that ChatGPT, even though it's being used from inside, but it appears to say different things from here. So must be that OpenClaw gives it additional context that's not present in the ChatGPT. All right, what I wanted is your comments. You're saying the developer of OpenClaw built it with software agents. Something about him taking 600 GitHub check-ins in 1 month, as he uses agents to do the coding. And I heard he was a Codex user. Yes, he uses all. And one thing I do recommend, and I have to say that I do recommend it, is YouTube video with Lex. I see it's coming here all the time because...
So it's almost like it needs to be experienced. And from that time on, that was January the 1st.
There you are, and I'm giving that to you. It's about 3 hours, and even so, I'm listening to it the second time now. Because you need to start getting into that. You know that he's joined OpenAI. There was a competition between Facebook buying him or OpenAI, and OpenAI won. They clicked better, and he is a member of OpenAI now. Now, in addition to the speed, and now let's go to Git. To Git, where was it on GitHub? There. Let's look at the numbers. Okay. So what happened is that became insanely popular in the matter of a month. Let's look at it. That's a picture. That shows how popularity grew from the beginning of February till February 20. Right? And what is the measure of that popularity? It's first of all the number of stars, 214,000. Then it's definitely the fastest growing AI project. And the forks, 40,000. But the most important is this. Pull requests. What is a pull request? When you, as a user, see some new capability that you want, you implement it. And it's very easy to do it using it itself. So it goes, works for an hour, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in one case. And then you get a complete implementation, which you submit to Peter Steinberg. I think he still does that. I mean, he does it himself. He has a couple people, maybe, not that many. He hired a security guy. But that number, that means free, contributed by someone, new pull requests, is right now 4,200. Well, yesterday it was 4,100. I watched it. It's about 100 new pull requests. So imagine you have a software that's growing by new feature, 100 new features every day. I started looking at it like when I bought my mini Mac, a Mac Mini, and it was on Tuesday. I mean, it came here on Tuesday. And since then, it's going 100 new pull requests, new features, once a day. With that, your view of everything in the world changes, right? Software is eating the world, but it seems that now software is eating the software. All right. So I said it. There, I said it. Paul, right. That's more pull requests than anyone can handle, but keep in mind, there is AI. So Peter Steinberger talks about how exactly he works with that. And he says, well, he first wants to understand what it is about with AI, what they do, and gradually, let's look at the requests that have been accepted, because I think that should be somewhere. They are 6,800 closed and 4,000 opened. Well, that's a crazy guy, Peter Steinberger, and he talks about that he has 4 more projects that he thinks about. So if they are kind of a revolution, just like this one is, now supposedly everybody should be scared. Like people gossiped, Google is scared, and all of that. OpenAI, I would say, could also be scared, except that they got him. And now I would say they're not scared of him as an outsider, but maybe scared of him as an insider, in the sense that isn't it a giddy ride? Aren't we talking philosophy? Okay, I think I told you enough. Let me show you back here what we are doing. How did I install it? I followed the instruction, so that was extremely easy for me. Just like luck, so the whole install took like maybe half an hour to an hour, no more than that. And keep in mind, I wasn't even familiar with how Mac Mini works. So, okay, now I know how it works. And how do you use it? Well, you talk to it. Peter talks through it through, I think, WhatsApp. I did the Telegram just because it was the easiest. I found Telegram is easy to install on every device, so I have it on every device. And supposedly, the anecdotal evidence that Peter said, oh, we were playing somewhere, and I accidentally said, it guessed what I wanted. It did its research, it found, and I came back and I asked, how did you do it? Well, it was creative. He found a key somewhere. Completely crazy story. I will not retell you the stories that you can hear on the YouTube. Now, now I think I answered all of the questions here. So what will the future hold? What the future will hold is, of course, unpredictable, but the immediate future that people projected is that 80% of all the software companies will fail just because who needs them? You can build any kind of interface or software for your own private personal use. Now you do need to know something like where to put this Mac Mini and how to plug it into power. I'm joking. You need to know it just a bit more, but in the end, it does the work for you. So you will be able to find a lot of resources on what are the use cases. Nevertheless, of course, I'll keep playing. I have been going crazy since Tuesday, and I will probably keep. And I had to stop myself and start doing real work until the time I delegated to the OpenClaw. Now, what's in the future? What's in the future is my favorite thing. Now, my personal prediction is that we are all here to learn. That's what we're born for. And if it can make money for us, okay. Many people who have no use in life and who will only think my goal in life is to accumulate wealth will have a crisis because it can accumulate wealth for you. So, you know, what's your goal in life? Back. The question is back up. Now, I listened to a philosophy. Now, philosophy is one thing, but that particular philosophy comes from Claude. So I'll show you what it is, but that's just a conversational piece. So let's go to YouTube, and it must be somewhere. Maybe not here. Okay. Philo. So and entropic. Entropic. That's her. That's a
Seal.
There's a seal. Nice.
Oh,
Oh,
hello.
look at that.
Amanda Askell. That is a real philosopher hired by Claude. So I'm giving you the link. But I will tell you right away what I think. Here I'm not hiding. Is that philosophy has a strange bend. If you have philosophy, you must exclude all religions because it's the tradition. I would take it wider. I would include all religions because they are all philosophies, except that the difference that they rely on some traditions. So there may be truth in that tradition, there may be no truth in that tradition. That's no reason to exclude it. When a human philosopher has a point of view like the famous I think, therefore I exist. Who said it? I think Blaise Pascal. So what his question was is that how do I know I exist? How do I know I really exist in the physical world? He couldn't find any answer. Then he said, oh, I think somebody must be doing the thinking, so I exist. Well, that's really very weak. That's just a theoretical argument. Perhaps he thinks that he thinks. So in the end, he had to come up to religion. His answer was, I'm a Christian, I believe in God, and God wouldn't play a trick on me. Okay, so maybe. I'm not saying he's right or wrong. I'm saying that that should be part of your philosophy. Part of the interview questions in here was that they said, we noticed that you anthropic, your philosopher inside of anthropic, your model is heavily Western philosophy. In other words, you can't avoid bias. So just keep it in mind when you're investigating what's true, what's not. What I'm happy about, and I'm stopping this share. What I'm happy about is that now it's okay to talk about philosophy when talking about computer programming. Previously, it would not be. People would say, why don't care? That's not my business. And now that you have at least one philosopher in the employ of one of the companies, but really it's much more. It's the, let's go back. Let's go back and share. In the structure of this OpenClaw, in its structure, there is the soul, there are skills, and there are a few other things that resemble a human to a large degree. Now, how much, how that is true, Soul MD. Well, show me a Soul MD. Let's try that. Show me your Soul .md. Let's see what's inside. You see, by the way, the advantage of connecting this way. That was Peter's invention. He said, where's my, I don't see it. He said he was traveling somewhere. He insists on having that kind of approach, playable. Okay. Okay, we'll read it in a second. But he said the reason for these connections is that there is a damper, there is a damp, right? How do we say it? Buffer in between you, and if a connection on somehow wise was not perfect, it's okay, because let's say Telegram always works everywhere, and the connection will work when it works. So that is its soul. Now you can read that. That's too much to read, but it starts. You are not a chatbot. You are becoming someone. Core truths. You genuinely helpful, not performatively helpful. Skip the great question, and so on. I think that is an interesting thing. I don't know how you want me to deal with that, give you a copy of what it says, or do you want to wait till maybe next week and we'll continue that investigation? Maybe that's more fun, because whatever you do, you shouldn't do it, right? If there's a lot to read, well, you shouldn't read. It can do it. What are you interested in when you're reading about its soul? Tell me what's it's most interesting about, that kind of thing. So that's a new thinking that we're coming to. Okay, so great. Let me do this. Let me say goodbye to everybody, and let me wish you a great week, a great weekend, and a great year to come. But also, let's see if there are any concluding remarks here. Yes, Paul, that idea reminds us of something. So I would say the cat is out of the box, and that is exactly how Peter put it. So I'm subscribed to a newsletter from Peter, and he talks about what's new with Peter. That is his style. That may change now that he is part of OpenAI, but that we will see next week. So everybody, again, thank you very much. Wishing you a great week and a great, well, first weekend, then a week.